Okay, I think we're live. I see some guests who will be given an opportunity to speak shortly. I am Michael Lucchese, the chair of the Boulder Housing Advisory Board, and we will start with a roll call. So member Terry Pamos.
Yes, here.
Philip Ogren.
Here.
Juliet Ramsey.
Here.
Great. Juliet Boone. I think she is absent, as she said. Danny Teodoro. And I'm present, so I believe we have a quorum of 4 out of the technically 7 members. We actually have 6 members now. So welcome members of the public who've joined us. I'm going to turn it over to our staff liaison, Jay Signet, and he's going to review the rules of public participation and use of the chat box.
On mute. There we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Jay Signet with Housing and Human Services. I'm the staff liaison. I just have a couple rules to go over with public participation. The first slide, there we go. We're very pleased to have you join us. We have been really trying to navigate a difficult time and strike a balance between meaningful, transparent engagement and online security. So we have these rules. So it's the meeting has been called to conduct business of the city. Any activities that disrupt, delay, or otherwise interfere are prohibited. Time for speaking and asking questions are limited. No person shall speak except when recognized by the person presiding, which is Michael. Whoops, sorry about that. And speak for no longer than the time allotted. Each person, we request that you register to speak at the beginning of the meeting and using your real name. We'll ask you to change it if you're using some pseudonym. And no video, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jerry, for turning yours off, is permitted. And persons, Michael will enforce these rules. I'll help a little bit. And the chat function is currently enabled. It's really just to talk about tech issues. So it's to communicate with Tiffany and myself. Should not be used for communicating with the board. And sharing the screen. I'm not sure what just happened there. And then sharing the screen is only permitted during this by staff during this meeting. So that's it with the rules. Michael, you can feel free to go through the agenda.
Great. I believe Vice Chair Danny Teodoro has joined us. Danny, can you confirm that?
You guys here?
Hey, Danny, welcome.
Hi.
I understand you didn't have the greatest earlier part of the month, and we're really happy to see you here.
Yeah, I shouldn't be here, so I'm very happy to be here or be anywhere because
All right.
yeah.
Well, we're wishing you good health and safety, and that we now have 5 out of our 6 members present.
Okay.
Just getting very early in the agenda, I'm going to review the agenda for our guests who have called in. So we've already been through item 1, called order and roll call. Number 2 is agenda review. That's what we're doing. We'll be approving the meetings. That's item 3. Public participation. I think we have 5 or 6 people waiting to speak, given their 3 minutes in open comment. That's 4. Matters from the board is 5. I hope we'll be voting on a letter to council, urging them to begin action on the first phases of undertaking housing development, doing it from the city regulatory side for THAT phase 2, and the planning reserve will have some discussion about that too. We have a letter that's in the packet that everyone can review. Item B under that, number 5, will be a discussion of ADUs. There's certainly a lot of good buzz about what's happening with ADUs. Item 6 is matters from the staff. Jay will fill us in on anything new. we'll have a debrief and calendar check and then adjourn. So any questions from our board members? And I'd also like to note that John Gerstel, our ex officio member from City Council, is present. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the June 22nd, 2022 minutes?
So moved.
Danny has motioned.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
I
We got 5 ayes there.
And Terry, second.
Did we get a second?
Yep, Terry.
Okay. Okay, I didn't see hands, but I think we got 5 ayes. Yes.
Aye, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Public participation. This is the most people we've had to participate. And how do we do this, Jay? Do we go alphabetically or? This is a good problem to have.
It is an excellent problem to have. So typically we ask them to raise their hands using the raise hands function in Zoom. So Macon has already done that. So I would say
Okay,
start
great.
with Macon.
There we go.
And just
Okay.
go as they appear on your screen, Michael.
Excellent. We're going to start with Macon calls. And he is going to take 3 minutes and tell us what's going on, I think. Thank you, Macon. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. I see a lot of friends here, not just those of you who are on the Housing Advisory Board, but also some people in the audience. And as I've been working around the community with other people on housing issues and also some of the process issues surrounding planning in the city of Boulder, we've come to realize that the Housing Advisory Board is an important resource that a lot of us would like to receive more ideas from and work with you more on some of the housing issues that we have, and particularly to address the critical housing crisis in the city of Boulder. Ideas like the ones that are expressed in the letter to council tonight, including the planning reserve and the extent to which housing may be something where we could really make significant progress on our middle income housing strategy by using a portion of the planning reserve. This requires really studied attention because there are a number of stages that have to be accomplished in order actually to make a map change in 2025.
Reactions, yeah.
In conjunction with the major update to the comprehensive plan. But we really approach this with respect for staff and for your board and the planning board and council, because we understand that staffing is a significant issue with the city of Boulder. So we've got to work together. We have to share the burden for finding solutions. The last time I met with the director of planning early this summer, there were 11 vacant positions, and I'm not sure that any of those have been filled yet. But what we can rely on the Housing Advisory Board is to help inject ideas and follow up on ideas that relate to housing in the community. And we really would welcome your views about housing and your ideas for planning that involve short-term projects, medium-term projects, and long-term projects. I actually would look at the possibility of building significant housing in the planning reserve as a short-term project, because a baseline study has to be done in order to see if it's feasible for the city to provide services within the planning reserve. And then, of course, other steps have to follow. But unless this gets the studied attention of the Housing Advisory Board, the Planning Board, and the City Council now in 2022, and move the baseline study along, which right now is in the pending category, meaning that staff is not able to work on it because of shortages. But unless we focus on that and talk about the importance of it, we just can't get it done, and then can't be ready for the major update to the comp plan in 2025. So I want to thank you for taking my my call, my participation tonight, and I look forward to listening further to your meeting.
Thank you, Macon. Those are great observations. I've been giving a lot of thought myself on how the Housing Advisory Board can become more active and effective. I've been reaching out to our members one by one. I haven't had time to get to everybody yet, but I think we've got some good ideas. And this is a great time to be, I guess, bumping up our influence as the council moves towards taking action on some of these issues. So next we have Jan Burton. Welcome, Jan.
Good evening, Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. And good evening, Jay, and members of the Housing Advisory Board. First of all, thank you for your service. I know participating on a board or on council, it's a big job. And I, as a community member, very much appreciate the time you put into studying these issues and taking them up and meeting. I would like to add to Michael's just current thought there that I would love to see the Housing Advisory Board become really proactive. We have a council that is committed to building houses and doing zoning reform, and they need more help and support behind them. So I would really love to see you guys be leaders in that area. And I would advise you to be practical, choose things that can really make a difference in the housing in this community. One thing I think, in addition to the memo that you have, which is great, I'd really love for you guys to look at ADUs. We still have the most restrictive ADU ordinance in the country. There are a number of community members who are working on making some suggestions, and we would love to work with you on that if you guys are open to that. I also want to bring up one more thing that maybe no one else will bring up, and that is we are really at a crisis in affordable housing for artists and musicians. And we've lost many of our creative people in this community because they can't afford to live here. And of course, that's not a story just for artists, but creativity and the creative culture has been just a standing point for Boulder. So it is important to not lose that completely. We actually met today with Nuria and the mayor, and I'm on the board of Create Boulder, and we brought up a meeting that we had with an organization called Art Space that is building housing all over Colorado for the creative space. And it includes not just housing, but also commercial space for artists. That could be studio space, things like that. So as you continue to think about your ideas around affordable housing, family housing, middle-income housing, I would love for you to also keep in mind our creative community, and that we would love to have them continue to be or become again part of our community. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to speak, and thanks for your service.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you for your service on City Council and working with the community. Full disclosure, I am working on a project with Create Boulder, but it's not involved housing. And Jan mentioned Art Space. They built a couple of projects in Colorado, and if you're in either Trinidad or Loveland, you can go look at them and get an idea what they're all about. They're really cool. I believe they incorporate studio space as well as a place to live. So thank you for introducing that issue to the broader discussion. And I think we'll go to Jonathan Singer.
All right. Good evening, board members. I'm Jonathan Singer, and I'm the Senior Director of Policy and Programs for the Boulder Chamber. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Chamber today, but also wanted to share with you a personal story, actually. Some of you may know that I was the House District Representative for Longmont for 8.5 years. And, I used to joke that lawmakers at the state capitol make about as much as a first-year teacher. It's just we get 8 months off a year instead of 4 months off a year. But those of you who know teachers and lawmakers, no one actually gets any real time off. Back in 2016 and 2017, the apartment I was living in got sold to another company, and they decided to give me the special introductory rate since I'd been there for 6 years of paying double what I was already paying. You can imagine on a $30,000 or $40,000 salary, that wasn't possible. And I almost lost my seat in the State House because I couldn't find an affordable place to live in Longmont. Just imagine what it's like in Boulder. The same is true for our teachers and our public servants, and now our scientists and our engineers. And so with that being said, I hope the Housing Advisory Board understands that the Boulder Chamber is at the ready to help out when it comes to policies, whether it's ADUs, making sure that we maximize multifamily units, to even large scale infill redevelopments. All of these things need to be tools in our toolbox at our table. And the business community understands and hears this. And what I always tell people about development is development's going to come. The question is whether or not we control our own destiny or it just happens to us. And I would hate for what happened to me to happen to anybody else. I was lucky in the sense that my brother and sister-in-law couldn't find a place to live in Boulder, moved to Longmont, and now we live in their basement with me, my 2 kids, and 1 bathroom. That's a great project and compromise. But back to the issue at hand. I just want everyone here to understand that we are ready to work with you. We want you to be able to use the tools that are in our toolbox for you as well. And we look forward to the conversation tonight and stand at the ready to be of any assistance.
Thank you, Jonathan. Those were great comments. I love the personal story. I was talking about with one of our board members last week, and one of this is that we can't really have a working meeting unless it's a public meeting. So it's not that easy for us to tease out ideas in detail, except during these meetings. So we really welcome input from organizations around Boulder with their ideas about how to improve the housing situation in the Boulder, because we don't always have the ability to do that kind of legwork. To that end, I've heard that the Housing Network is developing some ideas about ADUs and changes to the regulations governing the creation of ADUs in Boulder. We'd love to be hearing about that as those ideas evolve, and possibly we could consider some of those for recommendations to planning board and council. We're on to Jerry Shapins. Jerry, I think you're muted, Jerry.
Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having us participate with you tonight. I'm honored to really listen to all the great ideas so far, and I'll look forward to learning more from you as the year moves on. I wanted to tell you that your role is really important to all of us. You guys just help with city governance for sure, but you imagine the future with optimism, and we all need your optimism. We need your hopes. We need your dreams. And I know you all have that because you are on the board. So I want you to be provocative, proactive, inspiring, and I want you to be, as others have said, a really creative advocate for urban housing. There's so many things that you can do for us right now as we are emerging from a crisis mode. Help educate us what amazing opportunities there are, not just in one site, but in all the places in Boulder. We have many opportunities here, and we want to really address the long view. We're setting up a way for the future, and you guys can do great. I want you to share precedents and examples from throughout the world. You've all traveled, you've seen amazing projects. There's so much being done elsewhere. We want to do that here. We have a creative community who wants a creative city. We want you to weigh in more aggressively on the multiple benefits of redevelopment. You talk about housing, and housing is really important, but it does not sit alone. It sits in a neighborhood, it sits in an area of the city, it sits within a zone and so forth. But redevelopment is really, really important to push this world forward. And so I hope you get into the idea of redevelopment of shopping centers, strip malls, parking lots, and so forth. All the eyesores that we're all aware of, and also the places that are not ecologically safe, they're not socially viable, and so forth. As other visitors have mentioned, we want you to be a partner with other boards. There's the planning board is absolutely important. You should really be active with the planning board even more than what you do. and try to have fun with when you do that and pay attention to that. Provide provocative content for our media. Our media is suffering. They need news to get out there. I hardly know what you do because the media is limited nowadays. Tell them as much as you can and actively tell City Council to take action on current housing projects. With all, I want you to go beyond the outdated dry zoning and regulatory discourse to tell the city about the wonderful possibilities of developing housing in Boulder that enables us to look forward with positivity about new public spaces, safer and cleaner ways to move around the city, a healthier and beautiful natural ecology, and a more diverse social fabric reflecting our changing needs in Boulder. Thank you. Thank you so much for what you do.
Well, thank you for those comments, Jerry. I really appreciate you bringing up the redevelopment possibilities. A lot of people talk about Boulder being built out, but if you look at large parts of the city, they're actually sort of underdeveloped with small buildings in the middle of large parking lots and often in areas that aren't performing especially well economically. So this could be future areas of opportunity. Others have talked about that. It's certainly in the East Arapahoe community sub-area plan, but that's one of those things that Ed could be grabbing onto and talking out and teasing out some new ideas. So thank you. Kathleen McCormick.
Hi there. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. As a way of disclosure, I will give you some of my affiliations. I'm also an editor for the Boulder Housing Network, which is founded by Macon Cowles, which advocates for affordable housing. I'm a Better Boulder board member, and I'm also a member of the Boulder Arts Commission, where, as Jan Burton mentioned, I have talked over the last 6 years with so many artists who are having trouble affording to live in Boulder or who have left Boulder. I'm also a writer and editor, and I recently helped the West Denver Renaissance Collaborative write a report on their ADU pilot program, which is building 50 ADUs for low and middle income households in 9 West Denver neighborhoods over the next couple of years. A link to this report is in the current Boulder Housing Network newsletter. And as a final disclosure, my husband is Michael Achese, your chair. So I just want to mention that for those who didn't know that. I appeared before the Housing Advisory Committee advocating for ADUs at one of your earliest meetings years ago. And in 2017, Michael and I built an ADU in a 1970s addition at the back of our home in Newlands. We somehow were able to jump through all the hoops to build an ADU before the rules were revised a year or so later. We've had a series of young professionals and graduate students living in this 420-foot space, which has access to a patio and our backyard. Our tenants have included a middle school math teacher, a CU administrator, a policy expert for a conservation organization, and a nanny for local families who is also an EMT and a nursing student. Although our ADU is not officially classified as affordable, we have limited the rent to an affordable rate. And our tenants have all said they really appreciated that they are paying less than market rate for a nice studio apartment in a quiet neighborhood close to transit and services. For my husband and me, this ADU has provided extra income to help offset rising taxes and maintenance costs, and has helped make it more affordable for us to continue to live in Boulder as we ease toward retirement. Thank you for addressing ADUs as a wonderful opportunity for more affordable housing in Boulder, with not a very great impact to neighborhoods, I have to say. We have several around us and we welcome them. I hope that your recommendations to City Council will include some key revisions that will encourage many more people to build them, such as eliminating the following: saturation limits, parking requirements, lot size minimums, ADU size limits, permitting fees for affordable ADUs, and other measures that could potentially produce many more affordable places for people to live in Boulder. Again, thank you for all your efforts. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathleen and Macon, for speaking for the Boulder Housing Network. I see a couple of other unfamiliar names that possibly they're members of the public who would like to comment, but I don't see hands raised. So here's your opportunity if anyone else would like to speak during the public comment period, or let me know if I've left anyone off. Okay, thank you. A question for maybe Kathleen. Do you have any idea when the hard recommendations on ADUs will be available from Boulder Housing Network?
I'm sorry, what was the question again, Michael?
Do you know when the Housing Network will be making its recommendations for ADU reform?
Maybe Macon or Jan could better answer that if they're still on, but it'll be sometime in the very near future because we know that council will be addressing it very soon. So this is a group of folks from different walks of life and different organizations in Boulder who all have great hopes for ADUs as a means for more affordable housing in Boulder. So I'd say stay tuned.
I am here, Michael, and
hi.
can comment on it if you wish. This is Macon.
And I'm here too, Michael. I would turn the question around and ask you, when do you want it? Because we are working very hard on this, kind of a combination of Better Boulder and the Housing Advisory Network. At least I am somewhat embarrassed that I have not had my eyes on what you guys have been doing. And so what kind of deadline would you like to give us that we can work toward?
Well, we'd love to see something before our next meeting. Our meetings are always the last Wednesday of the month. And to date, we've discussed ADUs. We've received informational presentations on ADUs from city officials. We haven't really devised. We actually did forward a recommendation to council about mobile ADUs, so AKA tiny homes on wheels. That was when Jacques Gillian was on the board. But as far as the rank and file ADU issue, we haven't really moved toward action. We want to get on that because I think council is going to be considered taking that up pretty soon. I am going to be meeting with Aaron Brockett next week and asking him about what he thinks the timeline is for some of their key housing issues. And I think that'll help inform our own priorities. But I would say if we could get before the next meeting your recommendations, that would be just fantastic. Any other comments from the board on that request?
I'd reiterate the same points. It would be great to have that before the next meeting, and it'd be really good to have a timeline as when these things are going with council, Michael. So that'll give us a good idea of what our time frame is to move forward. So and I really appreciate a lot of the comments here, particularly the whole notion of housing as it relates to people in the arts, be it music, be it art. I think it's a really big aspect that a lot of times is overlooked because there's a very particular challenge that you face as an artist, but it really does make our community. And so I was glad to hear about that as well.
Thank you, Danny. Philip, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna sort of drive home the point you made just a minute ago about thinking carefully about and anticipating what the city council's work plan looks like, what their calendars, their schedules, so that if they need advice from us or recommendations or just support that we can anticipate that and be ready. That seems like a good way to be effective with helping city council. I have another comment that's not directly related, but I love all the comments about being provocative and educating and being thought leaders. And the one thing that I was thinking about that is of concern to me is in our training we were told that if you are speaking as a HAB member, or because you're a HAB member, you have to be careful when you're making statements that whether or not you're representing HAB or not. And so for me, it seems very easy for me as Philip to go out and educate and say whatever I, say the things that I'm excited about. Let's put it that way. But then when it comes to Philip as a HAB representative, I feel like I can't throw caution to the wind nearly as much.
Well, thank you, Philip. I think that's why it's so important for us to reach consensus on some of these issues and speak with one voice, or at least with a majority voice as best we can. And maybe we can be doing more of that starting tonight. Great. We had so many provocative comments, and we don't have a super packed agenda. I just wonder if other board members have more comments on some of these great ideas that came in through the public comment session, and what we might do with them.
Michael,
Yeah, Terry.
I want to thank everybody who spoke from the public. We haven't had that type of participation, and I think it's great. And I want to thank everybody for making the time. Hearing all that kind of gave me a boost of energy. It kind of gave me a second wind here, and I think all those comments are completely on point. And I think we need to work towards all of those items in any way that we can. So I just wanted to thank everybody who came and said what they said, and I agree with 95% of it.
Thanks, Terry.
And
Mike, can I, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or was it Danny?
So the one thing I was going to make too, the other point that I want to make before was that with all these comments and coming from different perspectives and different backgrounds today, everything kind of coalesced around ADUs as, kind of the low-lying fruit and something we can really address right now as a way to really get going with some of these recommendations and stuff. And so I'm really looking forward to having that conversation tonight, and hopefully that addresses a lot of the suggestions and concerns that we heard today, because I think that, the recommendations that we make on ADUs can have a lot of help moving forward in terms of just hitting that one particular item. And then as we move forward to other issues. So.
Great. And for our guests, I'll point out that we had a retreat, I think it was last year, and we did decide to focus on the missing middle of housing. I think really to relate to that. And that's sort of tied up in our recommendation that we'll be considering tonight, especially for the planning reserve. That's where missing middle housing could potentially be built, and I'm hoping we'll see some progress on that soon. Other comments from the board?
Michael, can I just give a quick update on the schedule for ADUs and the progress we've made since we have such an active audience, which is fantastic. So the study session with council, it was just changed today. So it's October 13th. It'll be a study session that talks about ADUs. We'll talk about occupancy reform and how to, I forget the third one. It's something about smaller, more, less expensive housing, excuse me. But I think the main show is going to be ADUs because we made the most progress. So luckily we have Lisa Hood in Planning and Development Services, who's been the project manager. She's done a fantastic job. She's met with the project specialist. She's met with the rental housing folks to get a sense from internally what the issues are, how we can improve the processes, and what they see as the barriers to people creating ADUs in the city. Holly Hendrickson in our department just sent out our survey. So some of you hopefully have gotten that survey in the mail. So it went to everybody who's applied for a permit and asking them why did they create the ADU, try to get some interesting information. And then Kurt Norbeck just emailed me just before the meeting asking to meet to share you guys' ideas. So we're definitely open to that. And I can also help share that information with the board as we move along. So keep in mind, we're still in the beginning of the process. It's identifying what are the issues, what are the barriers. We'll go to council and propose what we think are the right sort of package. And this is the process that we would propose we follow. And then they'll tell us whether or not they agree or not. So definitely, like I said, we're in the beginning. So please send your ideas our way.
Great.
Anything
Well,
else that would be helpful?
I'd love to meet with you and Kurt when you sit down with him, Jake.
Okay.
We had perhaps a non-technical but helpful comment in the chat box that council's possibly looking at upgrading the ADU ordinance by March. Does that sound right to you, Jake?
Correct. But again, it'll depend on how many things that council wants us to address and how much community engagement they expect us to do.
Okay.
So again, it's it'll get refined after that study session.
Great. Well, I think we have, not that I want to tarry, but I think we have a little more time than we may have thought to weigh in on this really important issue.
Mhm.
Which is great news. Other comments before we move down the agenda? Okay, I don't see any or any raised hands. Item, oh, go ahead. You got
Sorry,
something?
one last minute thing.
Okay.
Since Macon had mentioned short-term and medium-term and long-term goals, I just want to reiterate one of my personal long-term things that I would love to have some, just mention it every now and then. I want to live in a pedestrian district where I live in compact housing, where I don't compete with cars. I can walk and bike to the things that I need. And I would love for HAB to have as one of its roles, there was a lot of talk about vision for creative housing. I'd love to have as one of our threads of conversation, imagining pedestrian districts and walkable neighborhoods and compact living where we share walls and green space and cars. So just thought I'd say that.
That's a great comment, Phil. Can you think of anything that's trending in that direction? Like a local example?
You cut in and out as you were asking that question. at
Oh
least
yeah,
on my
sorry, I
end.
think my internet is stable. I apologize.
Hey, Michael,
Can you think
perhaps
of a
turn off your
local
camera.
example, a place, however small, that okay, sorry about that. Oh, I'm gonna deal with my network for just a moment, so give me a second. Hi.
Michael, if you can still hear me, try turning off your camera.
What? Okay, that should be better. My Wi-Fi somehow switched to the backup, which is weaker, and this should be the strong network. Can everybody hear me? Well, good. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So yeah, I'm sorry. My question for Philip was, can you think about a local example in Boulder that is at least trending in that direction of being more putting the person and not the car first?
Well, I've often said that there's few examples in Boulder where increased density does not correspond to more cars, and I would love to see a place in Denver. Sorry, Boulder. Not sure why I said that. I'd love to see a place in Boulder where increased density actually corresponded to fewer cars, and there was more, pedestrian right of way and because I think when you go to Europe or you go to various resorts and you see these walkable places that we love to spend time in, those don't really exist in Boulder too much. And I mean, we can't all live on Pearl Street, and very few of us do, I assume. But we could have we could have pedestrian districts all over the city that were urban cores that you know were had some gravitational pull on daily life. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments before we move down the agenda? Okay. Item 5, matters from the board. We've had a letter out for a few months now. I've drafted it, I revised it with comments from the board we received at our June 22nd meeting. And I've sent it out to folks for review. I think our guests have also taken a look at it, but this is for the board to comment on. I'm hoping we can adopt this, and I'd like to have more discussion about what we might do next. But let's have a discussion about this and see if you have any comments or amendments to offer.
We're losing you again, Michael. Yeah, maybe turn off your camera again. But I can provide a little bit of context while we get Michael back. So all right, I'm going to mute him. Can't even do that. Anyway, a little bit of context on TVAP phase 2, as well as the planning reserve. So just this week, it was scheduled for September 22nd before council to get an update. So I think this is quite timely for HAB. So basically, you won't be meeting until after council meets to discuss this progress on this issue. That's it. Michael, are you back?
Hold on.
Yeah.
I got a question, Jay, about what you just said.
Sure.
Jay, what on September 20, whatever it was, council is going to do an update on TVAP or on the planning reserve or both?
So it's going to be both. It's a study session. It's a staff's opportunity to basically report to council progress that they've made or hope to make, and what the process will be moving forward based on staff availability. So I have no idea what they're going to say, but it's timely.
Okay.
It's good to know. So September 22nd and October 13th, 2 big dates for us to be following.
Yeah, and then October 27th is middle income housing and ownership.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, cool. Philip, you have another comment?
I'm just curious, is for a meeting like that, do they have public comment, and is it, oh, no, okay. That
Study sessions are designed as a less formal venue for staff to get feedback from council. So they're not, they technically don't make any decisions, but they can provide direction to staff. But you can still email them and, you know, contact them prior to the meeting.
And those will be likely in-person meetings or hybrid, Jay, do you know?
So I was going to give you an update on that later.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
But council is moving back to in-person, but it's not clear to me exactly when there'll be public comment will be in person. I think the initial is offerings are going to be all public comment is still remote.
Great. And you'll have an update on our meetings as well? Okay. Excellent.
Jay, mechanically, provided we all agree on this letter, do you suggest we get this to council before that meeting so they know what we think going into the study session? Is that a good strategy? Seems to me that it is. Okay, good. Good to know.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Great. Well, I don't want to forestall conversation about this, but we have had a couple of months and chewed on it pretty well, and I would certainly entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Just so I know what I'm doing, I'm moving to submit this letter to council, right?
Approve this submittal of the letter to council. Yes.
Yeah.
As edited, as modified.
As modified, that's fine. Yes, I moved to do.
This is the July 6th version that is contained in the packet.
It's the one in the packet, right, that we got?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah. that's
Wonderful.
Second, I second.
All in favor?
Well, can we,
I-
question with
Oh my
just-
God, we passed something. Oh my God, this is great.
Michael, I just want to talk about it for one more time.
Well, no, I want to talk about it too, but you start.
It seems to me that the missing middle is really hard. The reason it's lagging is because it's the hardest thing to accomplish. You know what I mean? Given our geographic parameters and our zonings and all the things that we have to deal with in this town by way of building things, this is the hardest thing to do, which is why it's lagged probably over the last 20, 25 years compared to other forms of affordable housing. And so, you know, it's something that, and I think it's something that we need the most, because this is not that the existing affordable housing that we've built or bought or whatever doesn't serve a purpose, because it absolutely does, but it serves a different purpose than the missing middle. It serves, you know, they're smaller units, they're more multifamily, you know, type stuff, stacked apartment style housing for the most part, not all of it, but most of it. And the missing middle, and to me anyway, is more townhome style, single family style housing, a little bit larger units, maybe a garage or a carport, at least a little bit of a back patio or backyard to kick a ball and then have a dog run outside, fetch a ball, whatever the case may be. And that type of product is very hard to do within the parameters of our city. It's just hard to do, at least on any major scale. So I think this is obviously very important, just like everybody else does that I've talked to. And I think we need to submit this letter, and hopefully it's taken seriously and acted upon.
Thank you, Terry. I'm going to turn my video off for a second because I'm getting an unstable internet. Well, I'm delighted that we passed that, and I think the timing is good. I just want to plant the seed of further thought on what we can do with this. And again, I've been talking to board members one-on-one, and one idea that surfaced was, well, maybe it's one thing to say, hey, council, get the process started on planning reserve. And it's another thing to offer a vision. You know, Philip certainly had a truly visionary idea he put forward just now. I personally would welcome the opportunity to brainstorm on, you know, not just do it and create the housing, but what is it? You know, a Holiday started with a vision that it was pretty well achieved. You know, just to say, go build it is one thing, but to say, here's some ideas on how to do it, I think could be an effective role for him. And probably something for more discussion at a later day. I guess I'd love to hear if people would be on board with that kind of discussion, and if you think it would be productive.
Definitely.
Yes, I would love to share thoughts and ideas on planning and density and product type and parking and all of those types of things. I would love to weigh in on that.
I'd love to have that discussion too. I mean, I really think it's the timing's right. And there's a lot that we can, it's very dense, but there's a lot that we can really start chewing on with that.
Mm-hmm. One nice thing, Michael, you know, you and I touched on this, that we can pull from is the fact that in the last 20, 25 years, Boulder has done some larger scale projects, be it Dakota Ridge, be it Holiday, be it Northfield Commons, you know, be it any of those types of things where there are large acreage, not just infill, not just a city block or half a city block or whatever the case may be. And we can pull from all those projects. We can take the best of those projects, because now you can actually go out and walk around and stand there and park there or ride your bike there, or you can live there, right? You can see it in real life. And we can take those ideas, the best of those ideas, and integrate them into the next project. You know, we take the best of what's been done, leave the worst. It's not rocket science, but sometimes it's overcomplicated. And I think we can do that. And we're not just limited to those 3 or 4 projects. We can look around to projects in Boulder County that I think have done a great job of what Philip was talking about, Prospect and Longmont and on and on. The list is long, but I would love to weigh in. I would love to weigh in on specifics, not just let's go do the missing middle or let's go figure out what the missing middle is and build it. I think we want to get into the weeds on this and get down to, how many parking spaces and where they are, and are they in a structure? Are they underground? Are they on the surface or on the street? What type of house? Is it 3 stories or 4 stories? Is it stacked flats? What are they? I'd love to get into that level of detail.
That's great. And I'm sorry, my internet connection is really funky tonight, even though it's showing up as strong in my taskbar. I might try calling back into my phone if anybody would give me a second here.
Philip, are you on while we're waiting for Michael?
I'm sorry.
Okay, I hope that's better.
20,000 leagues under the sea.
Hold on a moment.
There you go.
Hi, can you folks hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Let me
Crystal-
see if I can
crystal
get the
clear.
video up. My follow-up question to that would be, what's the best way to start teasing out some of these ideas? Devote a meeting to it, have if we haven't had a retreat in a year, we could do another retreat. And this is pretty meaty stuff. And we could talk about it for a long time and really generate some great ideas.
Let's at the minimum make it an agenda item for the next meeting that takes up most of the meeting, or maybe not the next meeting, but a meeting soon. Or we can do a retreat, either one.
I would say to give it some shape, we and maybe see it, maybe this is something Jay can help with or whatever, but and we can do ourselves and do some homework before we go to it, but have some models of things that work and don't work from our own experiences or our own perspectives, something that we can really start chewing on and going back and forth on. So, I mean, especially while we're still in the Zoom universe, a retreat and a meeting are pretty similar in terms of their structure and everything. And so either one works, but I definitely think something where we really just start brainstorming, like Terry was saying, is really the best way to go about it, because there's so many different concepts here. And like you said, get deep into the weeds and really chew on it. One of the things that I throw out there is, we heard some people talk about this in the past, and it's absolutely an issue, particularly when you're dealing with missing middle type housing, is association responsibilities and association dues that tie into that as well. So that's another thing that I just flag is, something depending on the type of product that you put together, what the common elements are and what the association responsibilities and thereby costs are, is another big thing to just kind of wrestle with a little as we go forward.
Thanks, Danny. I'm sorry, I don't know why my video is off. I can't see a button to turn it back on, but despite technical difficulties, I think we're having a good meeting. I think if we were to go back live next month, that to do some homework and have a retreat on this topic would be really, really valuable. And again, we could produce some fantastic ideas.
I don't know, Michael, how much notice we need. And sorry, I'm talking so much. This just gets me excited. I don't know how much notice, but even going in physically as a group, we ride bikes, walk. Well, I can't walk, but drive to some of these developments that have happened that we're talking about here, and actually standing there as a group and having Jay or others who know them really well, I know them all really well, point out, what's good, what's been really successful, the different things, and actually physically see them and walk around them. I think that could be really helpful for a lot of for our group to to be on the same page. So when we're talking about stacked flats versus townhomes versus attached units or whatever it is, we can point to it and look at it. I don't know, just an idea.
That's a great idea. And it's actually something that we thought about doing this summer. It hasn't happened, but it could. I think it's great that we're actually waiting until the cooler weather is ahead. And I'm also hoping that my Achilles heals and I can get back.
We'll carry you around, Michael, but I think it's a great idea to.
Yeah, I don't weigh that much. I'm tall, but I really don't weigh that much.
Yeah.
So we've had some folks that have discussed gearing up for a tour like that, and I would certainly welcome it. So
And the notion of
happy
having
to help.
open air too, hopefully, that helps abate some of the concerns with, whatever public health concerns, because it's outside in open air rather than in a confined space. But
Right.
I think it's absolutely imperative. I have so many projects that I work on where, a site visit's worth its weight in gold. And so I think, standing and staring at what it is that we're talking about is always incredibly helpful. So I absolutely support that myself.
The beauty of it, most of it is all within minutes of each other. I mean, if you take Northfield Commons, Iris Hollow, Holiday, Dakota Ridge, all those are, Iris and,
Well, I had nearly, or maybe I did volunteer to organize a bike tour, and I sort of dropped the ball on that. When this particular thread started, I thought you were saying to go do a site visit with where the TVAP phase 2 would be and where planning reserve would be. But now I'm hearing something more like, again, what the bike tour might be like with the map that Jay brought to a happy hour. So I'm good for anything. I think I love going around the city and observing what's been built and how it works.
Mhm. What if we, and again, I'd be happy to help, not to put it all on you at all, Philip. I love doing this sort of thing. But what if we shot for later in September?
sounds good.
Okay, well, I'll get with Philip and Jay, and we have our map. We know where we want to go, so we just have to figure out where we're going to drink when it's over.
So
Uh-oh, I'm going to say that at a public meeting.
Doesn't this bring up the issue of meetings, though? If there's more than two of us talking about, showing up someplace and then talking about how this, what we're looking at.
So the distinction, Philip, is that now we're talking about having it as a formal meeting. So if it's a formal meeting, it's publicly noticed, et cetera, then yeah, you absolutely have the ability to do that. So if we're doing this, a site visit is still a formal meeting of the Public Meetings Act. So that's the way that we do it for certain with something like this. And
Right.
So
maybe we would not, it might be more of a problem with a happy hour than the tour. Although if the public was invited and it was posted, then we'd be okay. Is that right?
Yeah, let us work out the details
yeah.
of how that would work.
Okay.
Great. We'll just bring beers on it. I'm just kidding.
Well, that goes really well with Viceling.
Is the place that we're going already established, or is that going to be discussed?
I'm sorry, say again, Terry.
Is the map of places we're going, the tour map, already established, or is that?
Yes. You missed our happy hour over the summer, but Jay brought a tour map he used for, I believe it was a staff orientation. And it was really good map.
So we use it for new council members and new planning board members typically.
Shoot it to me, Jay, please.
Yep.
Does it have Iris Hollow on there and all that stuff?
It's largely focused on recent projects. So no.
Okay. Well, we can amend it if we want to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, there's so much affordable housing throughout the city that you're going to go past lots of projects, and typically I point them out and talk about what I know about them.
Sure.
So.
Great. Okay, well, that's something we can make happen, maybe even before the next meeting. Thank you. I went back to my computer after restarting and I hope it'll be more stable now. I'd like to go on to the next agenda item if there's no objection to that. And we already did have some
Did we
ADUs.
vote? Michael, did we vote on sending a letter or were we just discussing?
I think we just voted on signing the letter, didn't we?
Didn't we? Who's keeping minutes?
I remember doing a high five and backflip. And
We had a
Here-
unanimous, we had a unanimous vote approving the letter.
Terry motioned and Danny seconded the sending of the letter.
And it was unanimous.
Okay, good.
Keep losing Michael. Michael, you back?
Yeah, I'm really sorry that I'm having all these problems. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, what was the determination on our vote? We did vote.
All done. Keep moving on the agenda, Michael.
Okay, great. ADUs, we had a little bit of ADU discussion before. We could talk about it some more. I know there's some really interesting ideas out there and the council has an open ears. Ranges from doing away with the saturation limits, which currently are very restrictive, adjusting or doing away with parking requirements. There's all kinds of ideas out there. Folks want to discuss that a little bit more now or wait until we're a little farther down the road?
When you say farther down the road, you mean at another meeting to talk about?
Yeah,
ADUs?
yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Or should we wait to hear what the update is from planning board and the retreat and then weigh in or weigh in before? I guess, what's better?
Jay, I'd ask your
Yeah,
learned guidance, what you think we should do on that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Terry. I mean, like I said, council is going to listen to everybody at the study session as to what the focus should be. So this is your opportunity to shape what this ADU update looks like. Like if HAB were to come out and say, we think X is the most important thing that this project should deal with, then I think that could carry some weight.
Danny?
I guess I just reiterate point that I've made time and time again for several years now, particularly with ADUs as well as some other things, is that I think in terms of what the focus should be, we could get into the finer details and nuance, but it's really just a question of flexibility, timing, expediting and simplifying the process for people to do so is absolutely important because time is absolutely money, particularly given the details that people have to go through on something like this. And so to me, that just still is the driving point, is that the more available we make it from a procedural standpoint, the more available we make it from a technical standpoint for people to be able to do this, the better it is. Whatever we do in terms of the particulars, that's another thing. But I don't really see the huge need for restraints and neighborhood by neighborhood basis. Jay, we had a good conversation about that. I think it was in June. It might have been May at a car accident. I can't remember perfectly, but and the whole notion that for any particular application, people will still have an opportunity to, express their concerns for something that's adjacent to them, et cetera. But to say that there's some sort of arbitrary threshold for any particular neighborhood or any particular area, I think we're past that. I think, we need to try to really promote this. And again, it's going to be taking away the unnecessary restraints, providing more flexibility in terms of how that can be done and you know, the manner in which it's done, and then expediting the process to get approvals, et cetera, is paramount. And then the last thing that I think for ADUs as well is just coming up with some sort of system, you know, for occupancy, so that, you know, it's focused on what we really need it for, which is local housing, local workforce housing, et cetera. And even, you know, the thing I'd throw out there is trying to develop some sort of clearinghouse for people who on this side who need that housing, and on this side, the housing that's available, right? Because leaving it to themselves to connect, you know, someone's going to look on Craigslist or whatever else it may be. If there's a clearinghouse and there's public awareness that there's a place that you can go, either if you're trying to market an ADU to local workforce, or if you're trying to find an ADU that might be available, I think that's a huge element, and that's something that the city can do to really help facilitate that. So that's my array of considerations on that, but you know, I think it's a pretty long array, and I'd love to see those things come into fruition. I think it could be really helpful.
Great. Well, what if we drafted some recommendations before the next meeting, and not to vote on them, but to at least have something in front of us to discuss? And I'd be happy to take the lead on that. Maybe somebody could work with me.
Mike, I'll work with you on that. Absolutely.
Because I mean, otherwise we're working. I mean, it's such an important issue, but we are working a little bit of a vacuum at the moment.
Can you remind me what the date is when City Council's bringing this up?
October 13th.
October 13th. So we have September's meeting to approve something to submit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I take back my earlier comment. We should have something we can vote on at the next meeting. So
yeah,
Danny and I can get something together, circulate it. People can review it ahead of time, be ready to discuss it, throw out what we want to throw out, keep in what we want to keep in, and forward a recommendation.
So my suggestion for right now would be, so we could put that together, Michael. So anybody else, if there's anything anybody else can think of, let's just start putting together a laundry list that then we can kind of chew on there. So hopefully we'll have the minutes, right, Tiffany? I guess that'll give us that laundry list. So I just say, anybody that has any thoughts on it, let's hear them now, so we can put those together and then try to really crystallize it at the next meeting so we can vote on it.
Yeah, well, the removing saturation requirements would be a pretty obvious first one that I understand council might be friendly to. We could certainly make a recommendation on parking requirements, perhaps even eliminating parking requirements.
Yep.
There's been discussion about occupancy, allowing more than one person to inhabit. I don't remember what the formula is, but you know, maybe not having a limit on occupancy within an ADU. What are some other ideas that have been out there, Terry?
Well, I think that we should ask for a separate review track when it comes to ADU approval. You know, not have to go through the typical permitting process, something that is just ADU specific. So it doesn't get caught up for months and months and maybe years. I also think that maybe we can, in that same vein, we can propose some pre-approved ADU structures, whether it's design, you know, a modern design, or three options where we say, okay, look, here's the template, right? You have a one-story modern design, 300 square feet ADU. You got a two-story modern. You have 4 or 5 different options that are pre-approved, pre-designed, and you can literally, you know, cut and paste. And that way it gets rid of so much of the design confusion or design ambiguity or the square footage ambiguity and all that kind of stuff. We say, look, you know, we have a 300 square foot option. We got a 600 square foot option that's 2 stories. And we got a 900 square foot option that's 2 stories with a basement, you know, and they're each a 300 square foot footprint. I don't know if that's exactly right, but something along those lines. And there's 3 or 4 different architectural options. And as long as you have a backyard or a space that meets this side yard setback, this backyard setback, you can do it, period. And I think that will make it so much easier for people to do. And I think that has to be a part of what we're recommending. Some type of a pre-approved template that allows people to just be able to walk in, the city can hand them a pamphlet and say, options A, B, C, or D are approved as long as you meet these 3 or 4 criteria, submit. And then it doesn't get bogged down into the long review periods that are typical. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
That's great. I believe the West Denver neighborhood has done a pilot project along those lines. It's been written up. Danny and I can take a look at that and see if there's potential to adapt that to Boulder, at least the concept. Cool. Who else?
I had raised my hand before Terry started speaking, and he kind of,
Sorry.
he kind of, no. That's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say, well, I wasn't trying to say he went out of order. I was just saying that he kind of summarized the points I was going to try to make. He did it better than I could have. The one thing I might add is I don't know if there's appetite or interest in exploring how prefab or manufactured homes might fit into the equation of what Terry was just talking about. I assume that, as this technology develops, there'll be more and better attractive options that are available. It'd be nice to have some kind of pre-approval mechanisms for those kinds of options too.
100%.
Great. And just to clarify on the manufactured, you're not talking about tiny homes, you're talking about manufactured homes that are in a stable foundation and so forth.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know the difference, to be honest. One of the glossy videos I saw with a company called Boxable, it shows up on a crane and it unfolds and it's ready to live in a couple hours. So I don't know if that's realistic or not. And I'm all for building structures that are gonna last and not, we don't want to build a bunch of unsafe structures in a floodplain, so.
Okay, well, to be examined. Other thoughts that Danny and I can put on our list and
So just to remind Michael,
I'm sorry.
Just to remind folks, remember, Hab spent a really long time talking about mobile ADUs.
Right. Yeah, that's why I asked for that. Oh, I'm sorry. Philip wasn't on the board then. That's why I asked for that clarification. We have weighed in on mobile ADUs, but those are a real subset of ADUs. My question was, would this be a manufactured home intended for a permanent location? And I think that's probably what you're referring to, Philip. But, again, there could be some innovations and things we're worth looking at that we can recommend.
I hadn't thought about it in that context, and I had forgotten about that. I have skimmed through those recommendations about the mobile ones. Yeah, no, I was kind of more thinking along the lines of like an actual fixed foundation structure.
Right. Okay.
And
Danny?
can you hear me? All right. So I would just say, based on Philip's point, also on a Habitat for Humanity board, and we've actually started with a few projects doing manufactured or prefab homes because the quality is significantly increased, and just it helps address the labor challenges, if not necessarily the supply chain for materials, but it definitely helps address the labor challenges because it's on site. And the manufacturers can kind of plan for that. And so I think it's a great idea. So.
This is probably too much of a digression, but as a side note about labor, our Boulder Tech High School has a wonderful construction program that has a teacher who's eager to be involved in ADU development. So that's one possible I don't know if it's a scalable solution, but it could raise community interest somehow. But
Excellent. Anything else on ADUs? I think just to review, we have a strategy. Danny and I are going to draft something sooner rather than later. I hope we'll send it out well before the meeting for review. I hope we have ideas that are worthy of consideration for a motion to approve a recommendation ahead of the council session on October 13th. If that all sounds reasonable and a good course forward, I think we can go on to the next agenda item. But any further comments? Great. I am going to turn it back to item 6 to Jay, and he's going to fill us in on some matters from staff. Then you muted, Jay.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually covered most of what I wanted to talk about tonight, but I'll go into a little bit more detail, particularly on the back in-person meeting. So I got some guidance just last week that boards and commissions will be returning to in-person, but the exact timing is still unknown. So as I mentioned, there's a desire to have the hybrid option. So I think that there's a recognition that having the community be able to participate remotely has distinct advantages. So trying to work through the technology and how to make that happen is not as simple as it sounds. And figuring out all the policies and procedures. So they'll be doing training for staff. So Tiffany and I will get trained, but they are not committing to being back in person until towards the end of this year. So I just wanted to put that out there as an expectation. It could happen earlier, but it could still be several months. Any questions about that?
Yeah, if we went back to in person, where would we meet?
Council chambers. Yeah, for those of you who joined since during the pandemic, you'll even get your own nameplate that will go below the dais where you'll sit. Super comfy chairs. We'll even cater meals. We feed you before the meeting. You guys get to socialize a little bit. Yeah, very different dynamic.
Hey, Jay,
Yeah.
Michael gets a gavel, right?
it's actually not guaranteed that we'll be in council chambers. Part of the thing is they're trying to figure out where to house everyone for different boards and things like that with the change of different boards on different nights now. So that is TBD at the moment on where we will meet.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I don't think we have a lot of competition for that room, but we'll see. It's possible we could be in a different room. Yeah.
Yeah, well, after 2.5 years of Zooming, that sounds like an invitation to go clubbing. So thank you for that. And please continue.
Let's see what else we got. So we talked about the study session on TVAP phase 2 and the planning reserve. The bike tour we talked about. So I'll get together with Michael and Tiffany will probably, to figure out a date, we'll do a doodle poll to try to make sure that we have as many people as possible. And then we'll come up with a plan and just share it with you guys. There's a lot that we could do. I mean, this typical tour can be up to 4 hours. And I'm not sure people want to dedicate 4 hours, but we can scale it. And then I mentioned the October 27th council meeting, which is a study session on really home ownership. We have not been to council, particularly this new council, to give them an update on housing. So part of it is going to be educational, update them on the progress towards our goals to achieve the 15% permanently affordable housing. And then the focus is really on that middle income. And the way that we're framing this is that when we talk about middle income, we're talking about ownership, right? Because middle income rental is basically on par with the market. So it's really when people are trying to find that ownership opportunity to buy a home, that's where they face the challenge, right? So a lot of people end up leaving the city to find lower cost opportunities. So we have some interesting things that we hope to share in terms of approaches that we're taking to increase ownership opportunities. And it's really around two pieces. Specifically, one is the town payment assistance pilot. So that ballot measure that was passed by Boulder voters in 2019, and updating council on the progress towards implementing that. And then the other one is an update to our inclusionary housing program. So we last updated it in 2018, or was it 17? Somewhere around there. And we tried to put in quite a few incentives to try to get developers to put their affordable housing on site, and we were not very successful. So basically, we want to present our findings, what we've learned since that 2018 date, and some ideas for moving forward. So that's, I think, October 27th is going to be very interesting for this group, and we will do our best to try to share with you the content of those meetings before we go to City Council. So any questions about that? That's all the updates I have, unless you have other questions for me.
I don't think so. I encourage everyone to listen in on those study sessions. These are really important. Great, thank you, Jay. Anyone have any questions for Jay before we go to item 7? Okay, item 7, debrief meeting, calendar check. Boy, we had a great meeting for a short meeting. I like that. We got more public comment than we've gotten in the past 5 years combined. That's not quite true, but and then we got good comments. People are paying attention to HAB and urging us to do our job, and we're going to do that. We passed a recommendation to go to council on TVAP 2 and planning reserve. I'm really happy about that. And we had a good discussion about ADUs and determined a path forward. We got an update from Jay about matters from the city council and potential future meetings and bike tour. Calendar check, the next meeting is, drum roll, what date? Julianne's.
September 28th, 2022.
Okay, great. So before then, you'll be seeing some ADU recommendation ideas. I'll send them to you individually, and you can comment back to me individually as well. And then we can have open discussion at the meeting. I hope we'll have a bike tour before then. I think I covered everything we covered, and would entertain a motion to adjourn unless anyone has further comment or any final thoughts. And Danny does. But you're muted.
So moved. I'm just.
Oh, I have a comment.
Oh.
If I may. One of the themes that came up in the comments section that just sort of percolated into my brain as Jay was talking, that's related to the ADUs, is HAB's role in educating people. And one of the things we might consider doing with our proposal for ADUs is maybe have a reading list, a podcast list, things that would be good for people in the general public to go listen to or read to become more educated on that. I think that'd be a really nice service to offer as maybe an appendix or something to include with the letter.
Great idea. I'd be happy to poke around, send out a list, a couple of podcasts, a couple of things to read. Unless you want to do it, Philip.
I can spend some time doing that.
Excellent, thank you.
So Michael, another idea, if HAB is interested, you could schedule another listening session specific to this update, and that could help be part of our community engagement for this update.
It's a great idea. I think we had previous agreement that we would wait until we went live to do a listening session. We were so successful with virtual listening sessions, but you know, as soon as we can do that, I'd love to do that. But it might not be before October 13th though. Huh?
No, I wouldn't recommend doing it before October 13th, but offering that to council as a potential tool for them.
Okay, would that be separate from our meeting or could that be our meeting?
Like in
Yeah.
the past, I think it would replace an existing meeting. Or it's half a meeting or something.
Is that an idea we should vote on?
No, I don't think we need to vote on that right now. I mean, I think that's maybe something that we can put in the list, the letter, whatever that we put together for next month. So we'll throw that out there,
Okay.
but I don't think we need to vote on that now at all. Because we don't even
Great.
know when we're gonna have in person. So,
Okay. I'll put it on the list.
okay.
Anyone else, or did I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Work,
Great
Michael.
meeting. We'll see you next month, if not before, on a bike tour.
Right.
Sounds
Good
great.
day,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.